Welcome back to Real Talk at the Round Table with Coach William Forcum, Coach David Smith, and special guest Coach Tim McGovern. In this episode, we will be talking about taking a part-time coaching practice or solopreneurship, if you will, to full-time, and what that entails. And who better to talk about that than other Tim McGovern?
Well, thanks for having me, William and David. Appreciate being here.
Good to have you on. Yeah, good to have you on. This is real talk at the round table. We're going to keep it real here. I was just doing some pressure washing, as a side gig for somebody. And first time I ever had done this. Okay, first time I've ever pressure washed. I loved it. I never knew it was an art. You have to hold it exactly like the right distance. If not, if you get too close, you start like splintering the wood. This thing is pressurized, okay? And if you're not close enough, you're not doing anything. You might as well just be doing something else entirely. So, as I'm thinking about that with our coaching practices, there is an art form to relating to people. There's an art form to speaking about ourselves, and then focusing on the other person. So, with that, what have you noticed in your full time coaching practice now that you've really honed in on that you weren't doing so well when you were part time, Tim?
Um, well, I don't know that there's any process that's really different. I spent a lot of time in the beginning of my coaching practice before I actually took on clients. I would spend the time, I spent months building out what I call my processes because I always had a goal of taking coaching from a side hustle, part-time job to more of a full-time, I'm all in type job. So I built practice that would enable me to go from, three clients, like most people start. I've had as many as 45 clients at one time, which for me was really too much to handle. To be honest with you, I kind of right size now at around 30 because while I am full time, I am in a more of a pre-retirement stage than a, full-time worker. So I want to be able to, manage my life, my work-life balance, and have time to do the things that I really enjoy. So, but one of the things to answer your question that I think changed a lot in my coaching is really focusing on the healthy communications between couples. I've seen a lot of couples that really don't know how to talk to each other about money or important things in general. So that has been something that I've really started honing in on. And as a matter of fact, now I'm actually doing group coaching for newly engaged, newly married couples to help them put, a money process in place. So when they're thinking about merging their accounts into one checking, one joint savings, going down to only one credit card if they have a credit card, and really combining their life together and building those processes to say, hey, how do we do this in a healthy way? Because so many people come to marriage with baggage from their past, whether it's scarcity mindset from the way that they grew up, or maybe there's from trauma from a previous marriage, even if there was financial infidelity in that, the previous marriage. So really flushing that out has been something I've spent a lot more time on more recently than I did in the past. It's more of a concerted effort, I would say, now than it was before.
Yeah, no, I like that. Especially the part about clear communication with couples. I think you're right. I think that the number one reason for divorce is lack of communication or miscommunication. We're just kind of talking past each other instead of getting it right here.
Yeah.
A lot of the times I see couples saying the exact same thing, just in a different way and not hearing the other side. So it's like, how can
or
we?
feeling safe enough to
Yeah.
share what they're really feeling.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I see a
There's a
lot.
lot. There's a lot.
Oh, go ahead.
There can be a lot of mimicking. Like husband says X, I say X because I don't want to say Y because I've never talked about that before, and I don't want this to blow up. So I've seen a lot of that, and a lot of that as a coach. One of the things I think we're trained to do is when the husband's speaking, we're dialed in on the wife. We're looking at her body language. How is she registering? Is she agreeing or disagreeing? And if I see some body language that might say, I don't know that she's really dialed into this, I'd want to explore that. So, hey, Mary, what are you thinking about this? Do you agree? Do you 100% agree? Do you 50% agree? Like, tell me, are you all in or are you a little different? Where do you stand? Right? Just to try to flush some of that out, and then you talk through it,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, and sometimes, when you're in a relationship, you always try to fix the other person. So you always have these walls up. And to get past those walls is hard. That's why they don't listen to the other person because it's like, no, it's my way. And they speak. I don't hear it. It just goes in and out as I'm very forceful with my speech.
Yeah, and a lot of times, I've been married, I've been blessed. I have a wonderful wife. We've been married 35 years. This September will be this month, actually in 4 days, will be our 36th wedding anniversary. So one of the things that I know from being married 36 years is I can't assume that I know what my wife's position on anything's going to be.
Mhm.
Because if I do, 50% of the time I'm going to be wrong, even
And
though I
this
know
is a
her probably
man,
better than anybody else.
and this is a yeah, and this is a man that's been married over 30 years who is saying this. Let's take
Yeah.
some notes here. Okay. All right. Go ahead. Continue.
So you've got to flush out what your partner's thinking are on things, right? Honey, how do you feel about that? Right. And one of the things I see happening is when we're in disagreement, that little voice in our head keeps chattering why we're right and why our spouse is wrong while our spouse is talking. So, what does that mean? That means I'm not listening. I'm only listening to my side. I'm not even entertaining that she has a different opinion from me because I know I'm right, right? The truth is somewhere in the middle because if we're working on a budget and trying to make a financial decision, it's our budget together. Just because I'm the nerd in the family and I sit down and I do all the finances doesn't mean that we don't meet regularly. Doesn't mean that my wife does not have a 50% say in our decisions. So her voice is as equally as important as mine. So why am I not giving her the ability to speak?
Wow.
And I tell my clients, if you find you're doing that, conversation's over.
Mhm.
Like you need to stop it and say, honey, I am not at all dialed in right now. Can we do this conversation tomorrow? Because I'm not really listening to you. And my wife sometimes will, this is, and I'll be very transparent here. My wife and I struggled with this when we were first married. That's why I do this group coaching for these newly engaged and newly married, because I made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. I worked for a very large top 25, Fortune 25 company. I managed $1 billion piece of their budget. So I would come home and say, okay, I know how to budget. I'm going to tell her what to do. And she had no voice in it. So what happens when she doesn't have a voice? She just shuts down. So now there's no communication, there's animosity brewing, which is even worse. And then other things start to happen, like if they don't trust coming to you for things, then they go out and do things like get credit cards that we don't know about and start charging things, right? We call that in coaching financial infidelity, right? That happened in my own marriage because I didn't have a way to communicate. So it's really important that we invest that time, especially with the people that we love the most. And listen, I know guys are wired to fix, right? We're wired to fix. We go to work to fix. We have to fix around the house. We're just wired to fix. So when my wife comes to me with a problem, you can bet I'm going to give her my all to try to fix it for her because I love her more than anybody. I don't want her struggling with something, especially if I know, oh, I've got the answer, right? Or so I think. But what I've come to learn is many women just need the ability to be heard. They don't need an answer from us. So what my wife will do is she will, we call it prepare Tim to listen. So she will come and say to me, "Hey, honey, I want to share something with you. Don't need you to fix it. I just need you to listen to it." And I'm like, "Great." Takes the burden off me of having to try to fix it. So I just sit down and listen. And then
If
at
I
the
can
end,
just if I could just interject there, I
yeah,
think that is so ingenious. I think that is so precious, so lovely. Like, because we are such fixers, we don't even intentionally realize we're trying to fix something. We just go in fixate. So the fact that you and your wife do that, and she's got the respect for you and the insight, really, to say, after 35 years, um, hey, I don't need you to fix that. I just want you to listen. Like, that is extraordinary. That is wonderful. Go ahead.
well, it took two things. One, it took me to understand that I did need to listen. And it was very abruptly pointed out to me that I needed to listen. And we had some really, really strong Christian mentors in our life who stepped in when we started having marital problems. And they said that they saw this communication problem with us. So they started, another very powerful tool that we can use in building, relationships are the love languages. And I talk about those even with my clients, right? Like, I'll give you a perfect example of how powerful these can be. When we got married, we bought a house, a beautiful brick center hall colonial house, and it had a sloped yard. So my wife kept complaining. My daughter Lauren was only about 2 years old at the time. She kept complaining, "Tim, I can't use the yard. I can't take Lauren out in the yard. She falls down all the time. It's too sloped." So what do I hear? I got to fix this. Okay. So now I'm working in New York City. I'm getting up at 4 o'clock every morning, leaving the house at 4:50, catching a 5:08 a.m. train, and getting home at 11 o'clock at night. So the only time I had to work on fixing it would be the weekend. So I spent all the time out there on the weekend trying to fix this problem that I thought we had, right? And our marriage got to a point of the lowest point it got to. And this Christian couple came in and said, because when we really started talking it through with them, when they took us through the love languages, not surprisingly, my wife's love language was quality time. My love language, you can guess, is acts of service. So I'm screaming to my life, "I love you. I love my wife. I love you. I love you. I love you," by trying to do this act of service to solve her problem. But all she wanted from me was time, which I wasn't giving her because she was left home Monday through Friday caring for a 2-year-old by herself, right? The only time I would see my daughters in the middle of the night when she woke up screaming, I was the one that got up to take care of her, even though I was only getting maybe 4 or 5 hours sleep because I needed my wife to get the rest because she had to, deal with my daughter the whole day. But it wasn't until we really saw this and this Christian couple came in and said, "Tim's screaming he loves you. He doesn't know you need the quality time." So then we talked about how could we fix it. So the way we fixed it was we found a family that had 3 girls that babysat, and I hired them every single Saturday night from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock to babysit every Saturday night, whether we went out or not. I paid them. And because there was 3 girls, they always guaranteed us because we booked every single week, they'd always guaranteed that one of us, one of the girls would be there. And they were all sweet, very capable young ladies that were very capable of watching our daughter, right? So what that did is it spoke to my wife, "Hey, you are important enough for me to change what I'm doing and give you what you need while I still go out and have to continue solving that problem that we still have." right? But that really opened our eyes to the love language. You think about how you can use them in coaching, right? Quality time. Think of doing a budget meeting. I recommend this to my clients too. If your wife is quality time and you struggle for time, make it an event.
Mhm.
Take her to a beautiful coffee shop and sit down and just have the meeting there. Make it feel like it's a special thing and invest some quality. Take her to a quality place to do it where you have freedom to talk too. You don't want everybody necessarily listening to your financial life, but make it put some thought into it, right? Use those love languages. If it's physical touch, hold their hand while you're trying to make a point. Look into their eyes and say, "Hey, honey, let me understand why this is important to you. Tell me why it's important to you." When you're holding someone's hand and staring them in their eyes, you know they're dialed into you,
Yeah.
right? So powerful little things that could make such a big difference in building that healthy relationship together, right? Because we're making a commitment, we're going to be together for life, right? That's the covenant that we make when we get married, right? Doesn't always work out that way, but that's the covenant that we make. So we try to honor that. We've got to pour into that as much as we can,
Mhm.
right? We've got to.
Yeah, and that's really powerful, listening and hearing the other person. I love those five love languages, because you actually get to know. I had a client, um, they went every single week, they went on a date night. I think date nights are important.
Oh, we do every week as well.
And the funny thing is, because they were in debt, they actually went on date night to make money. So they did Uber Eats and DoorDash, but they did it together, and they had fun doing it. So they were dating and they were making money. But it was time away from the kids, just them, and they enjoyed doing it. And they made an extra $4,000 a month just on date night.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, there are so many ways, David, that you can have. I have a list of 50 suggested free date nights that I send my clients.
Hmm.
Right? If you're struggling to find out with it, because money should not be an excuse that you can't have
Exactly.
a date night.
Yep.
If your partner is important to you, you find something to do and you go do it.
Hmm.
Right? I live in Sarasota, Florida. So for me, we can get a bottle of wine out of the cabinet, take our beach chairs, and go to Siesta Key Beach if we want,
Hmm.
and watch the most beautiful sunset in the world. Right? Have a glass of wine. Maybe we'll go and get a sub from Publix. They make great subs down here. It's our supermarket. We get a sub, go to the beach. What does it cost us? $10. We split a sub. We have a bottle of wine from home. We have some of the best conversations of our life there.
Hmm.
Doesn't cost much, but
Especially
we
when the
take the
sun goes
time out.
down and just seeing the stars. Oh, you know.
Yeah, you just take the time to connect to one another. So important when you've got little ones,
Yeah.
because that is the most difficult stage in life.
Hmm.
When you're trying to build a career, you're still relatively new in your marriage. Your income isn't as large as it's going to be later on, so you've got some financial stress for the most part for most people, and you've got to care for all these little ones. My goodness, it doesn't get much more stressful than that,
Yeah.
right? So taking that time out for your spouse, woo, that's important. It's important for yourself too,
Hmm.
right? Because you're also a couple as well as parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you tell the couple that viewed date night as irrelevant?
They may have some more serious issues than I can deal with, to be honest.
Mm.
Right? Because if you don't want to make time for your spouse, what's going on there? So I would encourage them maybe to go talk to their pastor, or if they have a marriage counseling team at work. I would want to dig into it a little, of course, myself to see what's going on there. Like, is it a financial situation? Is it I can't find a babysitter? Is it I don't know what to do? So we work through those kind of tactical things. But if it's something deeper, then they may need some extra help with that too. And then I would recommend, hey, let's stop coaching for a while. Let's go focus on that first, and then we'll come back and take care of the money side of things. Because
Yeah.
you're not going to have money to deal with if you don't have a relationship anymore.
Mm.
Right. Yeah. Hmm.
So how about you both? You both are financial coaches. What things have you interjected in your business now that maybe weren't there in the past?
You were specifically talking about focusing in on your processes and really honing in on them, creating them, and then implementing them as you sign clients. So, like just getting a framework, a Tim McGovern framework, not a framework or a Tony Robbins framework or, your own framework. I think that's so important. It's something that I've been honing in on here lately, and I'm seeing the fruits of that as you know people are hiring me as their coach. So I think what comes with that for me, like the biggest thing that comes with that is a confidence. It's a confidence that it's really deeply embedded within me. Like I know that it works because like me and the big guy put it together. You know what I'm saying? And I know that it's going to work because it's a living document. Like it doesn't have to be this rigid type of you got to do it this way, or it's not
Yeah.
like it's a framework and it allows life in it. Um, but yeah, just this whole idea of putting the work in and then seeing the crops grow and then plucking the fruit. If we're not putting the front end work in, then probably not going to have the fruit to yield.
Yeah, and you said something very important, William, and I think a lot of new coaches struggle with this. It can, it's a lack of confidence in the beginning. You're a new coach. When we meet with people, we never know the issues that we're going to have to potentially deal with, right? It's impossible to be an expert on everything, right? So that's why we have referral partners and other coaches that have expertises in other areas that we might refer clients to if it's a better fit, right? But you know, a lot of for me, taking away that fear in the beginning or that lack of confidence, if you will, was I built out my coaching roadmap. So my coaching roadmap is, okay, what am I going to do for onboarding? What am I going to do for pre-work? What am I going to do for session one? What are the topics that I want to cover? And I built out a year's worth of sessions, like
Mm,
a really logical flow. Because I like my clients, I work with them on building a rock solid money process. So in my coaching practice, there's 5 pillars to success that I have. First one is intentionality. You've got to come ready to do the work, and that goes into every decision that you make, right? Because there's always an opportunity cost to everything that we do. So we've got to say, is this the right decision with this money for this month, right? So that's pillar number one. Pillar number two is consistency of money process. So what's a money process? That's sitting down and having the meetings. That's building the budget out. That's building a process to weekly update and have the weekly check-in meetings. That's building a process to look at upcoming expenses. And I build that process out for a year. We look a year out for expenses.
Mhm.
Okay.
mm,
It's building in, incorporating a why statement and goals and values and bringing that into the whole budgeting process. And then it's also teaching them how to do things like cash flow reconciliations, right? Because a budget tells us what's coming in and what's going out, but it doesn't always tell us, are we okay with our cash,
Mhm.
right? If
mm,
I've got $3,000 of bills, but I don't get on the first of the month, but I don't get paid till the 15th, Houston, we have a problem,
Yeah.
right? We've got to figure that cash flow issue out. So what I did when I built that map out that gave me confidence was I built out those sessions and then I said, okay, what am I going to cover? What assignments am I going to give them to do with that material? Then also because my coaching, I believe in building legacy in what I do. So what I mean by that is when we talk about something like an emergency fund, they get a plethora of follow-ups. So we work through a complete emergency fund plan. We identify things that are covered. We put boundaries around it, right? We put a spending cap on it. We know what account it's going to be in. We know if it's a debit card or check access. Like we put the whole kit and caboodle together. So I build out these leave behinds that walk them through, and has an emergency fund calculator, because emergency funds change, right? If I'm
Mhm.
renting and my rent's $1,500, and I buy a house and my mortgage is $2,500, and I have a 6-month emergency fund, well, now I need $6,000 more to cover that additional mortgage payment, right? So teaching them that that's not a static target and how to adjust it, so they own that process. But that material, I always tell them, hey, get a binder and put this stuff in a binder, because when your kids are ready, you're going to be coaching them, right?
Mm.
So that to me is part of what I do, is build out material that will be legacy. I mean, obviously you're building legacy in the changing their identity around money and their success with money and all that, but I also want it to affect future generations too. That's a big deal to me, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have parents that spoke into my life financially. My parents were struggling to put food on the table. They weren't talking about Roth IRAs and SEPs and 401k Roths and all that stuff. They didn't have any of that. So 85% of Americans don't get a financial education, although that number's changing now, because a
Mhm.
lot of school systems are bringing in financial literacy in high schools. Like my sister teaches that in New Jersey. They have a fantastic financial literacy program that starts in middle school and goes all the way up to senior year. It's dynamite. So hopefully more young adults will be able to go through things like that
Mhm.
to put them in a better place, moving forward with their financial life.
Yeah, that's really good. Um, so, first of all, Will, you might want to check your phone. Next, we're at the halfway point. So, we're going to open up to the audience in our YouTube channel. You are more than welcome to ask questions. Now, earlier, you had mentioned about Mary. And the funny thing is we actually have the money coach RN Mary here right now. And she was commenting to earlier when you were mentioning about it is an art. And she says it definitely is an art. So I do like to make notice to our sponsor. And everybody needs a VPN. So the description is in the link below. Make sure you check out the VPN, because VPNs are important to protect you from hackers. Now, getting right into it, I think it's important to realize, the communication that we have, and making sure that we're fostering it properly. Um, date nights, love languages, really bringing it to the front table. Um, I know, I know sometimes that's hard. And one of my best friends, bless his heart, he is a father with 6 daughters. His wife cut him off at 3, cut him off at 4, cut him off at 5. Thing is he was trying for a son. He could never get a son. So he is in a house, 1 male to 7 females. He gets male dogs just to balance the flow. Now, he is definitely, his love language is kind of different. She's very, straight and narrow. So her love language, they're like completely opposites. And it's funny, the communication level, to bring them together. They have been together for so long. It is such a blessing. And I admire him mainly because, I mean, he has 6 daughters. 6. All I can say is I feel for him, right?
I hope he's saving for weddings.
Well, the funny thing is with him, and, speaking of that, when I was coaching, as I was practicing to be a coach, your friends become your guinea pigs. And so one of the things we had to do, practicing to be a coach, is because we don't tell them what to do, we ask questions. So there's a little game you have to play. Have conversations with people. Never say anything. The only thing you can respond with is a question. to strengthen up that arc. And the first day I was able to do it to him, but he was getting annoyed, but he let me do it to him. And then every time I started to do it, he's like, quit coaching me. I'm not your client. Because then he knew why I was doing it. But I have to get better.
But David, that brings up a good point, because a lot of times in marriages, like even my wife and I, we grew up in very different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
We have very different views of money. I have a lot of scarcity mindset. She came from a family where her dad was a VP in an oil company. So they went on, like, Disney, Bahamas, Puerto Rico vacations in 1 year. I'd be like, what's a vacation? Right? So very, very different. So being able to learn to talk in those differences is really important, but the power in being different can be magical, because she can pull me out of my scarcity mindset shell, and I can help her with the saving side of things. So to give you an example, I retired, and she came to me and said, "Hey Tim, I want to go to Italy to celebrate your retirement."
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was going on in my head was, this is the scarcity mindset side. Are you crazy? I'm retiring. How can we spend that kind of money and the cash to go and travel? That's that scarcity mindset. But one thing I know with scarcity mindset people is, if we sit down and do a budget out, and you're okay with that budget, you learn that spending can be okay. So that's what we did. We sat down and came up with a budget that we could both live with. And then we made the most out of that budget we possibly could. And the beauty of that was, if I was by myself, I would have never gone. I would have never gone. And you can see I have a little Ferrari Formula One picture, because one of the things we did is we actually went to Italy, and we went to the house of Ferrari. So we saw actually where Enzo started building his first cars, which was kind of neat for me as a Ferrari fan to go do that. But I never would have done that if it was by myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the beauty is being able to build those conversations in a healthy way, where you're not fighting, because it would be very easy for me to start screaming at her saying, "No, I can't," but hey, honey, why is this really important to you?
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. And let's see if we can come to some commonality that this could work for us. Right? Be open to those conversations, because there's going to be lots of situations where we don't agree on things. We've got to get to the heart issue, and where is it most important, and then can we fit it in somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those things, some of those conversations can be, "Hey honey, I know this is important to you, I see differently on it, but have you thought of ways we might be able to reduce spending to maybe afford some of this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you thought through some of that?" And she may have some great suggestions, and then I'm, "Okay, let's do this." Right? So that's the art of building those really healthy conversations around money, and not being afraid to go to each other, because you're not always going to agree on things.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be different.
Yeah. Well, did you tell the couple that yeah, I noticed or I remembered you said whenever you would ask a question in the coaching sessions, maybe you'd ask to the husband, and then while the husband's answering, it's our job as coaches to watch both, not only the husband answering, but also the wife's body language, how she feels in her husband's presence. So, how would you ask the question or address, let's say, how would you address the couple that doesn't feel safe, or maybe the wife that doesn't feel safe with her husband?
Well, I
How
would
would you?
try to, I would definitely bring it up for sure. I might say something like, "Okay, Mary, I don't think you agree with this. So let's have a conversation about it. Tell me what you feel. How are you with all of this?" Or if I have a really good rapport with a couple, I might say, "Oh, I can tell Mary doesn't agree with this. Let's talk about it." Like, try to make light of it a little bit to dig into it. Just depends on, the personalities of the clients that you're working with, because that can be a tricky thing to step into, And we don't want to shut anybody down. We don't want to shut Mary down at all. We want to bring her out. So we've got to be careful that we don't squash her ability to feel safe there. Right. So it really depends on the situation, but those are kind of two quick examples of
Yeah.
how you can do it.
And I actually had a client. They were a Marine, and they were active duty. And Marines are very forceful. And the Marine was all like right in, and especially dealing with finances. If you're married, we have to have both of you. So the wife, she was back over here. By the third session, they were both front and center. Because even with her being in the back, I pulled her in. So instead of saying, so what do you guys think? So and so, can you give us your perspective on this? And I kept drawing her into the conversation.
Take away his rank from him is what you did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Without doing it publicly, but just doing it softly, in a way to bring her in. And then she felt like she was part of the crowd and she was there with him. And one, it improved their relationship because, as you know, when you're doing a budget, you need to talk together to do your budget meeting.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you're going to create animosity and they're going to shut down. So it has to be both are part of it. And it was funny because um, in the field, you have like a nerd is a good thing. A nerd is your organized person. And your free spirit is the one that just does anything however they do it. Well, funny thing is he's the Marine, he's the nerd. She was a free spirit. Okay. So I told him like this, and this is hilarious. It actually drew her in closer. Okay. I was like, okay, so in this scenario, you're the nerd and she's the free spirit. So you're going to create the budget. You're going to do everything you do, pushing it out, do everything you want to do. You have a week before the end of the month to have it completely finished. Within that last week, the two of you have to come together. Now, when you come together, I'm sorry, Mr. Marine, which I actually said his name, I was like, Mr. Marine, you keep your mouth shut. You're not allowed to speak. And then Miss, and I would say her name, this is your time. You have to change at least one thing. The only rule is if you change your fund money and his fund money has to be equal. You're not going to give yourself $100 and give him $5. That fund money has to be equal. Other than that, you can change anything you want to change and he has to accept it. He's got everything he has to say in that budget, so he's not allowed to speak. Smile went on her face like you wouldn't believe. After they did their first budget meeting, she came back and was like, he spoke. I was like, so how hard was it for you not to speak? He's like, I'm a Marine. I follow directions, but it was hard.
Well, he's an officer at work, but he's rank and file when he's home.
Yep.
Right? They're both rank and file. And let's take a moment today, especially September 11th, to remember all the first responders that sacrifice their life, not only in 9/11, but every day when they go out there to do what they do, whether you're driving an ambulance, you're a doctor, you're a nurse, you're a firefighter, you're a police officer, you're in the military. It takes special people to do those roles. So thank you, really thank you for what you do.
Yeah, and I'm glad you acknowledged that because today is a very special day. It's a huge birthday. It's a very special day. If you notice, a lot of tragedies happen on this day, depending on the year. Big things, changes happen on this day. There's something really remarkable about this day. That's why, I don't know about you, but I know all military personnel, we give a huge discount because we respect and we honor them. Now, we don't give discounts, but we give an appreciation. And so, military people, yeah, I love you because you keep me free. I have freedom because of you. So yes, we do need to pay some acknowledge to them. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And by the way, we have in this room right now the Money Coach Mary RN. That's right. She's a first responder too because she's a nurse. So we're giving respect to her as well. And you had
And
something
we
to
know
say, Will?
nurses are the one they really get it done,
Yeah,
right? The doctors get all the praise, but it's the nurses that do all the work.
yeah, exactly. And nurses actually make more than doctors because nurses still get overtime. Doctors are salary. So,
Well,
so it all
I don't know
depends.
about that. I don't know about that. I know a lot of doctors. I know how much money they make, and there's no way nurses are making that.
It's crazy with the overtime because a lot of them are
They
doing
can.
12-hour days every single day. And so you're pulling in almost as much overtime as you are regular hours. So especially an emergency room nurse, it really depends on which nurse you are. But yeah, if you're in a doctor's office, yeah, you're probably not making more than a doctor. But depending on the type of nurse, I've seen nurses making a lot more than a doctor. You know, I was at one of my clients was a nurse, and I was surprised at how much money she was making. I was like, "What? You're kidding me?" She literally showed me a paycheck for 1 week. I'm like,
And they deserve it.
"Yeah, they do. I mean, they put in the work. I give them props. I mean, my brother, he went through EMT school. I looked at his books. It's fine. That's not the field for me, but that's fine. He went through paramedic school. I couldn't even look at the books. Nurses have to do that. One time I had my thumb dangling. They have to fix that. Now, yes, doctors are the ones that do the surgery, but the nurses are the one that mend to it first. And they're the ones that do 90% of the work. The doctor does a couple stitches and he gets the glory, but it was really the nurse.
Yeah.
So, and Mary says, she says thanks. So, you had something to say, William?
Yeah, thanks, David, and special thanks to Mary and just everybody in the healthcare field and the veterans, the first responders. Appreciate what you do. Um, Going way back into the beginning of this conversation, Tim, you were talking about your marriage. You're being very vulnerable and open. Appreciate that. I think that's really powerful. And you said something very profound. You said, I needed to listen, but then my wife also needed to see that my wanting to fix is coming from a place of love.
hmm
Uh, would you care to break that down a bit and what things that were in your control and still are in your control and how you could effectively communicate that? Because I mean, let's face it. I mean, us men programmed to fix. I don't think that's the issue. Uh, it might be sometimes, it's like, especially when she's like, I don't want you to fix it. Okay, if we're trying to fix it, then it's an issue. But I think it's how we go about fixing it. So I invite you in to share some insight
Like an
there.
area in our marriage that we had to have a conversation with because there were some issues that we had to work through and fix. Like, how do we go about that process? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking?
Yeah, and specifically on how you changed the way you were attempting to fix to better show your value as her protector, her provider, her husband who loves her and wants to fix.
Okay.
Mhm.
So a good example of that is our grocery budget. My wife used to be a personal chef.
Okay.
So we spend more money on groceries than probably anybody else does. Because when we have a meal, it's not, you know, a hamburger, mashed potatoes, and string beans. It's an event. It's a delicious, mouth-watering, mouth-savoring event. But there's a price to that. But we also
Yeah.
have to learn how to control it. So my wife, I said earlier, and I are very different. I'm the nerd. I have that scarcity mindset. She's more of a high level free spirit. So one of the things she was really struggling with was budgeting. She just didn't want any part of budgeting. I don't want to save receipts, Tim. I don't want to enter anything in an app. That's not me. So I really wanted to listen to that and come up with a solution that would work, that would allow her to be her.
Mm-hmm.
So what we decided to do is we went to a cash basis. So we sat down and talked about what amount per month would be agreeable that we would have to commit to, right? We're not going over, right? That's a mistake people make in budgeting. I'm going to plan 1,000, but they don't really pay attention to it. Then at the end of the month, they find out they spent 1,600, and they're wondering where all their money went, right? That's not
Right.
budgeting. That's just guessing and finding
Yeah.
out at the end whether your guess was right. Budgeting is coming out with 1,000 and then putting the plan in place and checking in with your plan every week to make sure that you're coming in on it, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
why we have
Yeah.
those weekly check-in meetings, if
Mm-hmm.
you will. So by going to cash, because I would, start to question, do you have to shop at this store? It's much cheaper over here. So could we do that? So what we decided to do after sitting down and talking is we broke our grocery budget out into two separate areas. So we have a Costco line item, and then we have a grocery line item because we do a lot of staples at Costco still because it's much cheaper.
Mhm.
So I manage the Costco side of things because I'm the one that has the time to go shopping at Costco because it's about a 20-minute drive for us. But by her having the cash, right? So if she pulls out, let's say it's an $800 a month, she pulls out $200 a week. Guess what? I don't ask her. I don't ask her where she shops. I don't no longer ask her what she buys. I no longer ask her how much stuff was. All she does is manages what she has in cash. My wife is exceptional about putting together a meal plan. She knows what night she's not going to be home. She'll make extra meals that for the night before. She'll make 2 nights a week extra so that there's extra for me to have at lunch during the day because I'm working from home. Or if she's, going out with her friends because I work at night as a coach, then I'll have something that's delicious to eat that's a leftover. So she does really an exceptional job, and that's a big way that she contributes there, is not going over by using the cash, and then also by planning out delicious meals with what she has. And she has the innate ability to go, take 3 ingredients and make a masterpiece. Not everybody can do that. She can do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very blessed that way. That's why will I have to ride 150 miles a week on my road bike? Because if I didn't, I'd be about 100 pounds heavier, right?
Well, I'm a fat guy. I love food, so guess what? I'm on my way over to your house so I can eat a good feast.
But that's an example of, putting all of that together of, how's her personality compared to mine? We sit and talk about what's working, what's not working. We come up with tactics that will support the budget that we need. And both of us walk away feeling good about it
Mm-hmm.
because the budget's being met on my side. And I'm not, hounding her about why did you shop here or, things like that, that scarcity mindset sometimes can bring out. All right. I'm human. I'm a financial coach, but I make mistakes
Mm-hmm.
too with the way that I communicate. And, I tell my kids the most important words you ever have to learn to say are, I'm sorry, especially when it comes to your children. Like I've sat down with my children and said, you know what? I am really sorry I did that
Yep.
because I didn't realize how that affected you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was shame on me for doing that. Do you forgive me?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Do you forgive me? Really important words.
Mm-hmm.
But that's an example of um, putting it all together kind of thing.
That's powerful. Well, at this point, I do have to say thank you for coming. We like to give 3 announcements. We like to do 2 frees and 1 paid. So first of all, we have a huge event coming at the end of the month. I believe it's the last Tuesday of the month. It's National Podcast Day. So we're going to have a special podcast just on that day. We're not going to have a special guest. However, when you're in the community for all coaches, which is a completely free community, when you join that community, you'll see the event in there, and it's a free event to go to. And you'll be in a Zoom room. All of us will be together. So it's not going to be on the YouTube channel and in the Zoom. It's all going to be here. So it's going to be a special podcast, a special unique thing because it is National Podcast Day. The next thing is, as you notice, we have two little ads here talking about moving mountains. We have group coaching, which right now we have a BOGO, buy one, get one. So you can actually get two events for the price of one. And when you get two events, you actually get four. And on the months that there's five, you actually get five for the price of two. So it's really cool. And then the last thing we'd like to talk about is we're doing a lot, and we really try to strengthen and grow the coach individually. We do a lot of work for the coaches. So make sure you get into this community because it's there to stretch your business. We give you a lot of free stuff. As you do things to grow your business, you're going to get free stuff. So why not join and have fun? It is in the Star Wars theme because I'm a big Star Wars guy. So as you go up, you're actually part of Star Wars. So it's kind of cool. So definitely join it. And we also want to make a special acknowledgement. Tim, I know you wanted to speak a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone is interested in, getting some help with their, financial life, if you're struggling and you just feel like you're living in that hamster wheel of life where you're just not getting any traction, let me know. My link is below, so you can contact me there, and let's have a conversation and see if we can make it work for you.
That's real good. William, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, thank you, David. I'm humbled to be here with you two extraordinary coaches and with you listening here right now. Thank you so much for being you, Tim. Thank you so much for coming on. Hopefully, we can have you on again sometime in the coming year. So that's all I've got, David.
Okay. Well, thank you each and every person for coming. It's definitely a blessing having you. And stay tuned because we're going to be doing a lot of new things. Matter of fact, we just had an event yesterday that people were actually able to create the next month's events. We're putting it in your hands to create the events. So that'll happen every month. There's a lot of things we're doing just for you. So make sure you stay tuned because we're constantly growing up, right? So thank you for coming. And we will see you next week.